Chads. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships and presented by Bet365. We've got Bailey, we've got AJ, we've got Rudo coming to you on an Avalanche off day, 10 games into the season. I mean, when do you start taking the numbers seriously? Who knows? Maybe it's 20 games, maybe it's 15. I don't, it's not 5 though. The sample size is growing little by little. So we're gonna have some conversation about where the Avs stand, how we feel about the good, the bad, and everything in between. Before that, the news of the day though, the Avs did sign Tristen Nielsen to an ELC. Congratulations to the kid. Had a really good preseason. Has been very good for the Colorado Eagles so far. Don't know that it will have any real NHL impact, just given how crowded the Avs are at forward anyway. You're already struggling to get guys like Bardakov in the lineup once LOC gets back. If Kivy eventually gets healthy, might be hard to see him in the NHL this year, but you never know. And getting a contract is the first step, right?
Right. No, this is a kid when he came in, I really liked watching him during the series between the Eagles and Abbotsford during playoffs. He had a really good postseason. I thought maybe not as evident on the score sheet side of things, but I was really big on him when I saw the Avs picked him up and signed him. And this to me is just kind of proving of how they feel about him too. They obviously have really liked him through a couple games so far and want to see that flourish over the next 2 seasons.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is a solid AHL player, but when we talk about how does this affect the Avalanche, right? It's great for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And it keeps him in the organization for the next couple of years so that they can see. If he just keeps getting better, then great. Maybe you have a player on your hands. Really, this is just the same pattern that they followed the last couple of years with a number of guys who have been on AHL deals that have converted into ELCs because they like what they've seen. Ty Felleber was one of them. Ivan was one of them. And now you've got Tristen Nielsen next in that line. Good. Great. Grand. It's awesome for Nielsen, and it's great for the Eagles, and we'll see. Rudo, as you mentioned, there is a log jam at forward that it just makes it hard to imagine that he's going to get much burn unless they go through a string of injuries that was similar to what they did last year. But so what? They're not pressed for contract space,
right?
So they can take their chances on guys like this, and this is great. I would rather them take chances like on guys like this than 29-year-olds that are they are who they are. They're like, you're like, hey, yes, he's a really good AHL player. You need a couple of those on your roster, but this is them just trying to mine the underrated, undervalued guys that have proven a little bit of something in pro hockey. And as Bailey mentioned, he had a really good preseason.
Yep.
So, and he's got 7 points in 7 games to start the year for the Eagles. Like, he's off to a killer start for them. There's nothing wrong with rewarding him for a great start, and then we'll just see how it goes.
Especially for an organization that's so thin in their prospect pool, right? You have to get creative with finding some guys that you're taking upside swings on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that is the Avs news of the day, even if it isn't anything major. But at the 10-game mark, the Avs are 5-1-4. If you want to be the most pessimistic possible, you can call that 5-5. If you want to be the most optimistic possible, you can call that 7-3, essentially, right? So either way, you can kind of see the 10-game stretch to start. They've lost 4 in a row, which obviously doesn't feel good in the moment. But big picture, What are your Avs vibes as we sit here today after these first 10 games? Good, bad, great, ugly, somewhere in the middle? Where are we at?
I have mixed feelings because, again, it is 10 games, and I'm trying to look at it from two different lenses. One lens being, this is one 10-game segment that Bednar can pull from and say, okay, here's what to fix. 14 out of 20 points isn't anything bad.
True.
In my opinion. So I think through 10, we've seen that there's a lot that this team needs to work on. I mean, you and I talked yesterday about nitpicking and, where do things fall on the priority list? And I think this just helps kind of smooth that priority list out. But again, 14 points. They're racking things up. It might not be in the fashion that we'd like them to. Wins are wins, losses are losses. But I don't mind 14 out of 20.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that the 4 losses in a row, people are not comfortable with that. But and you shouldn't look at a team lose and you go, that's fine, right? Like, losing is one. But you're talking two of them have been in the shootout, and the other 2 have been in a 3v3 format that the Avalanche just have never been that good at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
to be honest, it looks like they abandoned the shootout entirely this year. Those attempts were pretty bad.
Honestly, pretty much ever since they got Mackenzie Blackwood, you're like,
yeah,
they're pretty stinky in shootouts. This sucks. Like, this is not a good time. And they don't really have, like, I know that there's been some consternation over the Bednar's shootout lineup, but like, they don't really have
an
ace that they can throw out there for that. Like, you want to talk about niche deadline pickup? There it is. Like, what's Wojtek Volsky doing these days? Because like, having one of those guys would be great. Those are extra points that you don't that they're leaving on the table. Right now they've left. We always call overtime a coin flip. Well, they're 0-4 on coin flips. 10 games into the season. That's not great. But you also, we also talk about regression to the mean, and if Jake Ottinger doesn't make an insane glove save on Marty Necas in that game, like, they win that game.
Yep.
With the broken stick and the pass from McCall, like, they win that game. And the other teams have gotten some of those moments. They've gotten the saves, and in the shootout, they've gotten both saves and goals. And with the Avs, I mean, yes, you can look at it and say they're 5-5. That's not great, but Rudo, you mentioned 7-3 is if they had a 7-3 record, they would be in the exact same spot standings wise, at least in terms of 14 points. Their tiebreakers and stuff would be a little bit different, but
of course,
you're on a 114 point pace after 10 games.
That's pretty good.
Yep. I think there's also something to be said too about standings, and third in the standings is nothing to be mad about. I think, like, through 10 games, there are way worse positions to be in.
Yeah. Particularly in the West. Yes, I know Utah has started very hot. Yes, I know Vegas has had a good start as well, who, by the way, are also 5-1-3. So if they lose their next game in overtime, they're equal with Vegas. Relative to their competition, they've started quite well. And I know people like to nitpick, oh, well, they lost to Dallas, they lost to Carolina, they lost to Utah, they're losing to all these good teams. And, like, yeah, fair enough. You want them to win against some of these other top teams. But also, they've only played a few of those. There's a lot more games that they're going to have opportunities to win. And I think the part of the reason I am not all worried about this, a lot of what they are doing is sustainable when you look at some of the positive stuff that they're doing at 5-on-5. Yeah, no, they're not going to get 45 shots a game or whatever, but it's not like they're shooting the roof off the building. It's not like they are relying on low percentage opportunities going in for them. They're generating a ton of high quality stuff at 5-on-5 that there's no reason to believe they can't continue to do on most nights. And then you look at some of the negatives like the power play, and regardless of how bad the power play has been and whether you believe in it or not, there is some of that regression of the mean that AJ was talking about. The Avs power play is not a 10% power play. It should not be that bad just based on pure chance. It'll get better. With that being said, it does need to get better, but I think it's not hard to believe in what this Avs team is doing, that they can continue to have quality 10-game stretches.
I also think that it's important to note that of their 10 games, I think 6 of them have come against teams that are in the top 13 of the standings so far.
Yep.
This hasn't
the McGahee tweet.
This hasn't
right?
been like the easiest stretch of games.
Right. They have not faced any of the bottom 12 goaltenders in the league yet this year. So,
man, some of that sure feels like they're generating a ton of offense and not
finishing it,
scoring.
They're making the goalies look good,
not like,
for sure.
Yeah, and it's not like they're not scoring a lot. You know, like they're 13th in goals per game. Like that's not bad. It's just they're not. They haven't had like one of those. Oh, they dropped an 8 spot on somebody, and that's as. We're going to get into why that's coming, but that's coming.
I think so.
Yeah. I think they're definitely due for a game like that, I will say.
It's got to happen eventually. You can feel that one coming a little bit, and maybe the power play scoring would actually help that.
It definitely would.
That's my next question. What is the biggest issue for this team through 10 games? Is it the power play or is it something else?
What else could it possibly be? What else could you make an argument for it being?
I mean, consistently having a boneheaded play that feels like it's a 0.9 expected goals against rate for you. You have one of those, it feels like every game. Also kind of bad.
No, I feel like the power play is the biggest issue here. That needs to be at the top of the priority list to fix. And hopefully that's something they're reviewing here in the next couple of days. You have an opportunity to troubleshoot that against a really good team that you played yesterday and the Devils. So it's just very interesting to me. And you start asking the question, because we have talked about how Dave Haxtell's mindset going into this is using the talent to their advantage. Obviously that's not working. And it comes down to systemically, like how much more can he put into this rather than just letting the talent speak for itself.
4 for 39 is bad, obviously. How much of this is unsustainable badness, though? I want to ask you guys, because I mentioned it. I feel some of this is a cold streak that they're bound to snap out of. But 1 for your last 24, there's no way to put a cherry on top of that, right? It's just bad. Yeah. Are the Avs doing the right things to work their way out of this, or do we need a significant change?
No, I think we're going to talk about why we all feel pretty good about them at 5v5. I'm going to get into some of the numbers at why you should feel good about them at 5v5 if you don't. But when you're talking about the power play, they're not scoring and their process is bad.
Yep.
And that's like the worst combination of things. Like, oh, you're playing poorly and you're not putting pucks in the net. That's a pretty good recipe for failure. And thus far, they failed.
And I think we'd be having a little bit of a different conversation if it was just the scoring issue, right? But they looked okay to start the season, and they look bad now.
Their process has gotten worse. Yeah. It's not something you should be happy with, certainly. If you're looking for reasons to be pessimistic about the Avs, the power play right now is one of those things. No doubt about it. A lot more to get into here, but we do need to take our first break of the show. So let's make sure we're getting our bills paid. If you are a skier or snowboarder in Colorado, you've got to get with Christie Sports. I've used them to rent my skis for most of my life, and they also have you covered with snowboards too. They have the high quality gear, industry leading prices, and over 50 locations everywhere you love to ski and snowboard here in Colorado. They also have exceptional service from experts who ensure you are in the right gear for your ability and style. They do full season rentals. You rent once and enjoy your gear all season long. Have your gear on hand when it matters so you can spend more time in the mountains. Book with peace of mind. Enjoy risk-free booking with free cancellation before your season rental pickup date. Ski or ride just 5 days as an adult or 3 days for kids. Your season rentals pay for themselves. It's just that easy. Plus, you can get 20% off your season rentals when you book online at the link in the comments and use code DNVR20. Must book season rentals, of course. Book by 11/23. Outside is better with expert service and advice in every store when you get with Christie's. Then, when you're out on the mountain, make sure you get with Shady Rays so you can actually see on those sunny mountain days. Also, you know that moment when you realize you forgot your sunglasses, or maybe you left them on the roof of your car at the gas station a few states away? Well, we've all been there, but Shady Rays can help with that. It changed the game because you can get a 30-day guarantee from Shady Rays with your new pair of polarized sunglasses. If you lose them, you break them, or you just don't like them, Shady Rays will replace them entirely for free. So that makes you have the peace of mind to wear your sunglasses wherever you're going. And you can get sunglasses you like too. They have hundreds of different styles, different polarization colors. They even have ones that can work as glasses too. You can get corrective lenses in your sunglasses with Shady Rays. Whatever you're looking for, we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head over to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR to get 35% off any pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast here with AJ Bailey and Rudo. I think I asked this question at the 5-game mark too, but let me ask it again. What is your guys' biggest surprise so far this season for the Avs?
Ooh.
I'll tell you mine while you guys think about it. And maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised, but just how good Victor Olofsson has been for the Colorado Avalanche, I think is a pretty big one for me. We were talking about him like if things go poorly, we're talking about him as a healthy scratch early on in this season. And instead, I know he hasn't scored a goal, but at 5 points in 10 games on the season, producing in a way that last night we saw him get promoted up to the second line for part of that game. He's moved up and down the lineup a lot for the Avs. It's been a boon for Colorado that maybe I wasn't expecting in the way that they've gotten it from Olofsson.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. And in looking, maybe, you'd like to see a goal or two go in. I think that's something the entire team is struggling with. But that promotion speaks volumes, right? It's not just the eye test that's kind of working for Victor Olofsson. Like, obviously, Bednar thinks he's doing the right things in order to shuffle things up enough that he does end up there.
Yeah. It's the goals also, if you picked one guy where it feels like the goal is coming, it's Olofsson. The rates at which he's generated expected goals are too high for one to not go in pretty soon here. So the underlying numbers are quality as well. This is not just Olofsson having bounces go his way. I don't know. I'm open to other things though that could be a bit surprising, and they don't have to be positive necessarily either.
I think the second line production has surprised me because when you look at their individual numbers, you're going, well, outside of Nichushkin, like they've all been kind of bad. But then you look at game by game, they've scored in 5 of the last 6 games. And the one game that they didn't was the disallowed goal in Utah that should have been allowed. So, and that features 2 games where they've scored 2 goals. The Columbus game and yesterday in New Jersey, the second line, whatever the group was. I'm not even talking about individual players in that case, but your second line has scored 2 goals in 2 separate games. So they started the year with no goals in your first 3 games, and you're going, hey, what's going on here? Like, oh no, the second line sucks again. And then since then, the only game that they have gone scoreless has been a game in which they had a goal we think incorrectly disallowed.
It's
so I think that
weird.
The way that you feel about the second line, but then their actual production, like again on a Brock Nelson's on I think it's like a 20-point pace where you're like, that's bad. Gabe Landeskog's on a 20-point pace. That's bad. Like you feel worse about how the line is producing than what they have actually done. And yes, a lot of it has been Nichushkin. Some of those have been solo efforts. So it's not like, oh, they're just, they're clicking, but they're just not quite getting, but it's, I think that I've been surprised by that because I thought that their process was going to be a little bit better than it has been. But their actual, just the collective, the second line inside of games. Because yesterday we saw two versions of the second line. One that had Victor Olofsson and
to be honest,
Brad Ross Colton.
Yeah.
And both of those scored goals.
They did.
So you're like, oh, okay. I want to see, you obviously want to see more of that. You want to see more goals from Brock Nelson in particular. You want to see that third line start to produce a little bit too, because, Jack Drury's been great. He has 2 points in 10 games. But I think my big surprise has been how bad I feel about the second line and how it doesn't match with what they've actually done in terms of putting pucks in the net on a consistent basis.
You end up in a weird spot because of how siloed their goals have been. You mentioned some of the individual efforts where it's like Brock Nelson does all this good work to set up Nichushkin, and then the opposing team gets their stick on it for 1 second, and then Nichushkin goes and scores. And it's like, well, that's an unassisted goal for Nichushkin. What are you going to do? And then there's been a lot of their production has come from either the defenseman setting things up, assists from guys like Makar, Manson, Burns, or these weird combination switches where you've seen Olofsson and Colton jump up into that and you end up getting a point that way. So when you look at the pure second line of what was Landy, Nelson, and Nichushkin, none of them have a ton of points because they're not producing off of each other in the way maybe you would like, but there are other guys getting involved and picking up those points along the way. And is their process really even that bad? Like when you look at Nichushkin and Landeskog, their possession numbers are really, really good. And sure, maybe they're not generating dangerous enough chances at a rate you would like, but it's not like they're getting run over at 5-on-5 or anything.
I think one of the strange things about that trio in particular, when you dig into the numbers of it, is that they're inconsistent because one game they'll be dominant. They'll have 4 scoring chances and none against, and 3 of them will be high danger chances and they won't score.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I mean, you really like what they did, but then you'll look at another game and it's your worst line at 5v5. Yeah. And you're like, So it's been a lot of push and pull. I think I really liked the weekend from Brock Nelson because there were a lot of signs of life in the Boston game from him that I really liked. He was a lot more aggressive. And then we saw that carry over into yesterday, and then that paid off immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't love the Boston game, but yeah, obviously last night he was great.
If he can translate that, he needs to shoot. Like that's who he is. It's what he does. He scores goals. But if you do look at them as a line, their expected goals for is 60%.
That's good.
Again,
yeah.
Those numbers are shocking because you're like, wait, what? Like you don't think that at 5v5 they will produce that way. Actual goals are 4-3. So they're just not in a bad space there, but the inconsistency I think has been on a game-to-game basis has been my bigger problem with them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was gonna head with this too, is the last thing I want to get into a habit of, and that's my biggest worry here is old habits die hard. And this is not the dance that I want to do with Nelson 20 games from now.
Yeah.
You sign him to the contract that you do to expect him to be a consistently producing top 6 guy. And that's just not where he's at.
You need 7 points in 10 games, not 3.
Yeah.
It's just the reality with Nelson. And realistically, did we start to see the answer to this question last game? You move Landeskog off of that second line and see immediate results, whether it's Olofsson or Colton there. Is it time to to face that reality of one of those two needs to be on your second line and Landeskog on your third line now?
I think that you need to accept that Landeskog has had a slow start to the year and he hasn't looked good, specifically with the puck, because I think that there's so much that Landy has done well, but when you talk about with the puck, he hadn't been good. He certainly hasn't been good enough to continue playing in your top six across an entire season. So this is kind of what we were like worried about when he came back is, oh, you're going to be paying $7 million for a third line guy. Well, that's right now it's looking like that's the room that you're in. And that sucks because he was so good in the playoffs. And then he looked so good in the preseason that we're like, that's a concern. Because you're just not getting any bang for your buck there. But his two-way play has remained really solid. You go and you look at all of his fancy stats and you're like, this guy still rocks. It looks like the hands have gone a little bit on him and it's only 10 games. So maybe he catches fire and he looks like the Landeskog of old. But right now, I think you do have to have the conversation of he might just be a bottom six guy. And, you know, when you miss 3 years, oh, he's well rested. Yeah, but now he's 33 years old.
Yeah.
You know, like you
That's
never know when
things,
in your 30s that wall is going to hit.
That's one of the things where I am very steadily on, and maybe this is just me being too optimistic, but give it time. This is a guy who's proven before injury, but again, has not played in 3 years. So there's some of that, I think, relearning of the process to do. And sometimes that can be very, very difficult to do in a 10-game set where other things are still constantly moving.
This is also a conversation as how does Landy settle into playing an 82-game season, right? It's a very staccato schedule in the NHL where you play 3 games in 4 days and then you have a couple days off and then it's a game every other day and then there's a week break, and your schedule is a little all over the place in a way that even for Landy's limited time in the playoffs, that's a game, day off, game, day off, game, day off. There's going to be that adjustment to some extent for Landy. And maybe we get to game 30 and we say, yep, he just doesn't have it anymore and it is what it is. Maybe we get to game 30 and Landy's put 6, 7, 8 goals in the back of the net and we're like, cool, he's back to being Gabe Landeskog. Still plenty of time there. And, you know, anyone making massive sweeping decisions over 10 games is a bunch of teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning would miss the playoffs if we're ending the season today. So
yeah,
only read so far into things when it comes to that side of it. What do we make of the Avs defense? And I know we're going to get into the numbers soon. We'll get into that in the third period. But the Avs have a defense where at times, look, Makar and Taves, I'm solid with. I know Taves hasn't produced a ton. He gets his first point the other day. Then you have Burns and Manson together, which I actually have liked a decent amount of both of their play at times this year, but you put them together and one of them has to play the left and who knows what's going to happen. Yeah. And then you have a third pairing of guys you're just trying to get by with Malinsky and Ashan or Solovyov or Middleton or whoever until Sam Girard gets healthy. Is there significant room for improvement on this defense, or are we just living with it?
I think that there's a little bit of survival while Sam Girard is gone. And I say a little bit because like it's hard to say with Devon Taves and Kale McCarr as a top pairing that's just doing what they've always done. Even with the slow start from Taves, you're like quote unquote surviving, especially because Sam Malinsky has 5 points in 10 games. And as a guy that is known for his offense, for him to produce, you're like, okay, well now I'm back to feeling like the defensive side of his game is the one where I'm having more concerns. Perfect. This is much more comfortable territory for you, right? But at least with Malinsky, you're saying, okay, struggling a little bit on the defensive end, struggling to find consistency with a partner, but offensively he's moving the puck well, he's generating some chances, he's been pretty good. But yeah, your third pairing, I'm looking at your third pairing and your fourth line center spots are the weakest individual areas of your team right now. Those are the ones where you're like, oh man, big problems here. And big. Everything's relative, right? The big problems are your bottom pairing and your bottom line, your bottom forward line. Like, come on. So I do think that you are in a position where you're a little worried about the defense just because you've got a guy playing out of position, and both Burns and Manson have been chaos so far.
Yep.
Their good games have been great. Their bad games have been like, oh my God, this is a mess. And you don't want them necessarily having those games together. That's the position that you're in right now. So that kind of sucks. So I do feel like a little bit of survival, but a lot of upside, and they've produced quality results.
And I will say, though, too, the two problems that you list ideally can potentially be solved with return of some of these guys who are waiting on from injury.
Yep.
A Samuel Girard, a Logan O'Connor.
Yeah. It's not hard to see. I'd call it a light at the end of the tunnel, but the Avs aren't really in a tunnel. Let's be honest about it. They're out in the sunshine. It's fine. But it's sure a little cloudy. Fair enough.
They're standing underneath an umbrella at the moment. Like,
yes.
But I think maybe one of the more encouraging things is there is that coming. Whether you're a pessimist and feel bad or you feel pretty good, there are some guys that are going to make you better on the horizon, even if they are a couple weeks away. And maybe most important of those being Mackenzie Blackwood. It's important to remember the Avs' number one goalie has yet to play a hockey game this season.
Yep.
Kind of matters a lot.
It does. And especially with the idea that he is ideally very close to a return.
Yep. Downgraded to day-to-day or upgraded,
that's something we should have more information about by the end of this week.
Yeah. Shouldn't be too far off, hopefully. No. But anyway, we do need to take our second break of the show, so let's make sure we hit that, and then we'll probably dig into some numbers on the other side. It's time to get with the official vehicle of DNVR, and they're also the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. That is Toyota. They have a vehicle for everyone, whether it be trucks, SUVs, sedans, or anything in between, and 17 of those vehicles have four-wheel or all-wheel drive available, so you can have the comfort of knowing you're in control on the roads, or if you want to have some fun off-road, they've got you covered there too. Whether it be the 2025 Tacoma or the 2025 Land Cruiser, they'll fit the right vehicle to you. They also offer more low or zero emission vehicles than any other automaker. So you can jump in and make sure you're saving money on your daily commute. 16 different hybrids to choose from, including hybrid trucks like the Tundra iForce Max. They also take command of the roads and the trails with their SUVs so you can explore the road less traveled. Make sure you're visiting your local Front Range Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Gorman Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevens Toyota East Aurora, and Stevens Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. Chilly weather is finally here in Colorado, and you don't want to be stuck with windows that are old, stuck, and cracked. It's been a 100-year building that we record our stuff in here at the bar, so we know a little bit of thing about creaky and old windows. That's where Window Nation comes in to replace them. You can eliminate annoying drafts once and for all with top quality replacement windows from Window Nation. Window Nation has some of the best replacement windows out there, and their installation crews finish the job in just 1 day or less, so you can get back to your daily routines with minimal interruption. They offer a lifetime warranty on all their windows, so you can know your home is covered for the future, and there's no limit on how many windows you can replace, and your total price includes 1 day installation. So put an end to your window problems. They have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, a 50-point inspection from the factory, and a 20-point inspection on their installations. They can be installed quickly, 96% customer satisfaction rating too, and over 45,000 5-star reviews. They've installed over 3 million windows across the country, so they know what they're doing at Window Nation. And again, it comes with a lifetime warranty. Make no payments for the first 2 years, no monthly payments, no down payment, and no interest until 2027. Schedule a fast, free estimate now with the pros at windownation.com. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. How good is it really at 5-on-5 for the Colorado Avalanche this year? What's so
the numbers,
funny?
AJ.
Yeah. I know it's really good, but is it as good as I think it is?
Yeah, so I went and checked before the show, and at 5v5 this year, offensively, we were talking about, they score goals. They're in the top 15 of scoring goals, so they're not having a real problem there. But their process at 5v5 is comical because on a rate basis, that is per 60 basis at 5v5, they are first in every single category. That is shot attempts, shots on goal, scoring chances, high danger chances, and expected goals. Every single category. Now, if you switch to even strength, so that includes 4v4 time, 3v3 time, empty nets situations. If you switch to that, they are not first in everything. They drop to second and third in a couple of them.
The horror.
But otherwise, I know. At worst, I think it's third. So you're talking about, and that's just offensively. That's what they're doing with the puck. So you're talking about a team that should be producing an elite offensive result, and they're not at the moment. So that's why I said I think that they've got a 7 or an 8 spot that they're going to drop on some poor team's head in the next 2 weeks. If they continue this level of play, they're going to blow teams out more often than they certainly have. And they've had some comfortable wins so far, but they haven't had any like
crushing.
Oh, they're up 3-0 after the first period, and then they score in the second period to end any hope of a comeback. And then the third period, now these are just mercy killings, right? Like it's they haven't had one of those games where you're cozy the whole game.
Yeah.
And they've outplayed some teams. The first Boston game, frankly, both Boston games, they outplayed the Bruins by a lot. The Columbus game was never really like process-wise, it was never close. But their results have not been so great in terms of the scoring goals. And this is where the power play scoring even just a goal every once in a while is like you're gonna absolutely smoke other teams. And like Carolina, they process-wise, they embarrassed the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were missing 3 of their defensemen, so they should have embarrassed them. Freddie Anderson was a monster that night. So that was a big reason for that. Also, 1 for 8 on the power play.
Yeah.
But when it comes to offensively at 5v5 and frankly even strength, they are elite. They are a monster. They're a monster.
Yep.
Defensively, it's more like top 10 instead of being first across the board. They're just a top 10 in terms of their exactly, like just.
It feels a little more inconsistent, right?
Absolute champagne problems here. It is a little inconsistent. Their one thing that they have done really well compared to last year, though, is that they protect the front of their net much better. And that is across score states. They've been very good there. Their penalty kill has been so much better. Their penalty kill process isn't elite,
but it's good.
It's just good.
Yeah.
And like we're talking about outside of the power play, their results are just good.
Yeah. I think what is what?
Well, you're talking about a team that is outside of the power play, which has been genuinely awful.
Yeah.
Everything else, even the thing that whatever you drill down on is merely going to be good at worst.
Yeah, that's a really good hockey team, if not an elite one. It sits in a world where if this process continues, the Avs are going to win a lot of hockey games going on through the rest of this season because pucks are going to start going in eventually. Things are going to start going that way a little bit more. I will say, I think the second period is a perfect microcosm yesterday of the Avs defense and why it's good, not great, in the most frustrating way imaginable. Because you have a period where you give up 3 total shots on goal. You take that every period of existence. You would take that always. Except for one of those shots on goal is a literal 2-on-0. And is this just the world we live? Like, the Avs have accepted some of this. They have Josh Manson on the team. They have a Brent Burns on the team. Are they just going to give up the big mistake more often than we would like?
Can we just talk about that goal for a second? I don't know how much you guys covered it in the post game, but
I talked about it in my review, but yeah.
Is it a bounce or is it a play by Nemitz?
I think it's more of a play than a bounce. I don't know that he's trying to necessarily do that, but he definitely sticks at it.
The big problem I have there is that Colton rotates back
and just falls
on
asleep.
defense.
He just falls asleep.
And he just stands there on the blue line, and I'm like, "What you doing?" Josh Manson's not reading it at all, and that's how two Devils are just like free. I will say this: if you give up 3 shots on goal per period, I will take that every single period. I will also take giving up a 2-on-0 every single period
for 3 shots
because you're bound to stop one of them. And if you do, they've only scored twice. And I will take that every single game. I like Colorado's chances if the other team can only score twice. So, that said, that is absolutely their big problem, is that they are still prone to the fall asleep, make a mistake. But this is not unique to the Colorado Avalanche.
Very true.
All right? Every single team makes these mistakes. Every single team has these breakdowns. Hockey in the NHL is too fast. It is too skilled. It is too hard. Hockey is, at the highest of levels, is a game of who makes fewer mistakes. And the Avalanche do a really good job of limiting their mistakes. They just like to make like the big one. And then, you need a goaltender that's going to bail you out every once in a while. And for the first, I want to say 7 games, you saw Scott Wedgwood do exactly that. The last 3 games for the Avalanche, their goaltending has not been nearly as good, and it's been hard to win those games. It's not a coincidence that they are on a 4-game losing streak when their goaltending has been at its worst for them. Yeah. You could tie those together. They had a 14-point 10-game segment with all 10 games played by their second and third goaltenders.
Yep.
Those are fantastic results. However you got there, you want to, they only won this number of games and they've lost 4 straight. And we're talking about their process and all their power play. Your goaltenders have to be good. And certainly over the weekend, your goaltending wasn't good.
Yep.
Some of that is 100% going to be on Jared Bednar because he got it wrong.
Yep.
And some of that is on the guys, and I feel bad for dogging on Scott Wedgwood for being bad in Boston because he never should have played that game. And Trent Miner should have never played in the Devils game. They should have been flipped. It's just something that we've been talking
Hindsight's
about
2020.
The thing is, though, is that it's not even hindsight with that. We knew going in, you're setting everybody up for having a hard weekend if you do this. And he did it because he's stubborn, and sometimes he just doesn't handle his goaltenders very well, especially on back-to-backs where he's like, I'm going to try and cheat it. I guarantee you, if Scott Wedgwood had won that Bruins game, he would have played in New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Should we have this conversation as much as I hate having this conversation? Jared Bednar.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No one on this pod is going to sit here and tell you Jared Bednar should be fired right now.
No.
That's a crazy conversation to be having in this moment. Even if you're a believer that he should be fired because of past playoff performance or whatever, the fact that they didn't choose to do that means they're not going to fire him mid-season at a point where the Avs have 14 out of 20 points and are at the top of the West. You're just not firing a guy at that point. But while I like Jared Bednar and think he's a really good coach, there is some justifiable criticism, not just the goaltending conversation you were just talking about, but the Avs are 0-4 in overtimes and shootouts because you keep playing Nathan MacKinnon and Marty Necas together. You making that decision actively and just don't. Just don't.
And the frustrating thing for me here is Bednar is such a tenured coach that I find it really, really hard to believe that management's going to go up to him and be like, you need to fix this. Like, this is not something you can be stubborn on, just because he is a coach who has earned the respect of that locker room and has proven himself in other different situations that he is a capable coach.
Yeah, a great coach, I would even argue. It's just, I thought he would know better in overtime. The Rantanen and MacKinnon thing was a disaster for years and years and years. And it was easy to see the Necas MacKinnon thing being the same. I don't know. Hopefully
you could see that from a country mile away.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. And all you do is you just look at it and you say, okay, they've played 248 together at 3v3. All right. That's not very much, but that's because they keep getting scored on.
Yeah.
They have created no scoring chances. They have allowed 3 and 1 high danger chance. P.S. That high danger chance is the one yesterday, but also the Dylan Genther one is a pretty high danger chance too.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whatever. But I don't know how you keep putting them together. You have plenty of adults. You have Brock Nelson, Arturi Lehkonen, Gabe Landeskog, and certainly Val Nichushkin, who has had a lot of overtime success alongside Nathan MacKinnon. This isn't like a personnel thing. This is a usage thing. This is a stubbornness thing. He started with Nelson, Nichushkin, and Taves. They got the puck back. Taves should have drawn a penalty.
It was a penalty for sure, but
it was a penalty.
He got criminalized in the corner. That was messed up. But whatever. They had the puck. They had the puck back. They got the puck a couple of times, and they failed with it. But stop putting them together. They are going to continue to fail. They're not good at that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You have to put an adult with Nathan MacKinnon at all times. Marty Necas does not qualify as an adult.
No.
He's a really tall, like lanky golden retriever. Stop.
Yeah. No, and that just goes back to my point too. Nathan MacKinnon and Martin Necas are dangerous in their own right in 3-on-3.
yes.
I think this is, none of us are saying that. But,
Absolutely.
and like this is, putting them together is a recipe for disaster defensively. And that's the big conversation to be had here, is that 3-on-3 is not just a who can score first. Like it's not that shallow.
Yep. AJ wrote about this in his Studs and Duds today. By the way, go read it. Go become a diehard. Help support us. Do all that stuff. But there's a reason Marty Necas was so successful in overtime playing next to Sebastian Aho.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who is fantastic on both ends of the ice. And if you don't have the puck, you rely on a Sebastian Aho to functionally play in his own zone.
Yep.
That gives Necas the freedom to be the offensive crazy man that he can be. When you put two offensive crazy men together and they lose the puck, you're now wandering through the woods with a blindfold on. You're playing Bird Box.
Hoping Cale Makar can be the savior.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it just feels like such an easy problem to fix.
Yeah.
It really does. And it's not, again, this isn't a personnel thing. This isn't like it's not like last year where you were like, well, who are they going to put him out there with?
Sure. Everybody's injured.
This isn't that problem. I mean, you could completely justify putting him out there with a Jack Drury or Ross Colton, Victor Olofsson. You could go down their lineup and be like, yeah, we'll try this out. One of the best plays of all of overtime last year was made by Logan O'Connor.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you've got guys that you can trust defensively. You've got guys that can skate. All right, you don't want to put out a Landeskog because he's a little bit slower. You're worried about that. Fine. Fair enough. But don't put Necas and MacKinnon together. You don't need to do that. It's such a self-inflicted silliness. It just doesn't make sense.
All of that to say, right? Jared Bednar has his flaws, but to come for his head 10 games into the season is
so silly,
insane to me.
Yeah. If the Avs were 3-7, even if the Avs were 3-7, I wouldn't be coming for his head, but you'd at least have a conversation of like, this is a bad start.
3-7, I'd be having a conversation, man. I'd be like, something's wrong. What's going on here? But we know the team is playing great hockey.
Yep.
And they're doing it, and it's not dominated by one line. Yes, their top line is scoring a lot. I don't understand the criticism of why that's bad. They're paid to.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Why is this some sort of a criticism? This is silly. Your top line should be carrying the offensive load for you. As mentioned, your second line has been scoring for 2 weeks. Again, it hasn't looked the way that you really want it to, but it's scoring. You're getting consistent contributions from your depth, from your third and fourth lines. You've gotten multiple games with goals from those guys.
Yep.
It's not like it happened once and you're like, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You've gotten a couple of goals out of each of those lines. Your defense is producing. Outside of Devon Taves, everybody on your defense, and I guess the rotational sixth guy, Solovyov, Gerard, and Ashan.
Yeah.
You've gotten points out of all of those guys. Malitsky's got 5. Burns has 4. Josh Manson, I think, has 2 or 3. Like, you're getting some contributions from a high-scoring defense. You're balanced. This is as balanced as they've been in a really long time, but also their top line is still elite.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't just going to magically be like, oh, well, your top line only scores 1 goal per game. That's not how Nathan MacKinnon rolls. He's going to score. They're going to score. He's looked not very good for like 4 games now, and that line just keeps finding ways to score goals. They're too talented. They're too good.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to keep doing the thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. The team is really good, and their process is good. The results are super encouraging, and you're getting your top goaltender back. That should help.
Yep.
Yeah.
That should make you a little bit better.
I get in the moment being upset. Sure, they've lost 4 games in a row. You don't like that. But they also won 5 of their first 6. Which puts them in a spot where, again, they're on a 114-point pace. And I can't be that upset about a stretch of hockey that has the Avs on a 114-point pace. There's a real good chance you win the division with that point total.
You're also,
and there's a very good chance that is while they haven't perfected the process.
Yeah,
So.
Right. It could get better from here.
I also see people in the Toyota chat talking about usage and minutes. Like Nathan MacKinnon's usage has dropped from last year, and that includes 4 overtime games.
There's some fair concern about the defensive side. Makar is playing those 27, 28-minute games again because of the Gerard injury and all of that. But yeah, the forward side, it's been fine.
I don't know. That defensive side of things is where I start to get a little concerned.
Yeah.
That's where my main concern lies.
Yeah, I mean, they could really benefit from having a 4th line that they would at least play.
Get to 8 minutes at least,
I'm saying like the 8 minutes at even strength. Just please give a couple of those shifts. But also when your top 3 lines are consistently in the offensive zone and doing exactly what you want, and you just flat out don't trust Zakhar Bardakov, you can understand why this is happening. And your 4th line has gone from being one that you're comfortable with Kelly and Kiviranta, where you're like, hey, whatever Gavin Brindley gives us, we're willing to let him work it out. Now it's Bardakov and Brindley trying to work it out, and you're like, I don't know, this is a little tougher sell. Fair enough. Like, and we would be comfortable with that 4th line playing a little bit more, but frankly, if your power play scores and you're leading by 2 goals every single night going into the 3rd period, your 4th line's gonna play.
Yep.
They've had to erase deficits to get into overtime over the last week. They've had to have 3rd period comebacks, which meant that those guys aren't going to play as much.
Yeah.
They're gonna chase offense. That means that your bench gets shortened. That's where it comes from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easy math. Lead games, 4th line plays. Minutes usage for everybody goes down a little bit. It's much more balanced, and it's still not that big of a problem. Like the one guy that I think you're looking at going, oh man, I'm worried about this. For me, it's Brock Nelson. I mean, that guy fought in the Civil War, and you're playing him 19 minutes a night. That's a career high for him, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some stresses there for sure that are of the Avs' own making. You got to stop putting yourself in holes. If you're looking at these last 4 games, it's really hard to play from behind in the NHL. And you know what? The Avs have actually done a great job of getting these games into overtime and overcoming some of those mistakes. But you could make your life a lot easier for yourself, too, if you just don't do that.
Yeah. It's not sustainable to play from behind for the entirety of the season.
Yeah. You're going to run yourself ragged doing that for sure. So.
Yeah.
I made this tweet yesterday. And look, there's a lot of different ways to look at overtime losses. You can say, oh, we missed out on a point that we could have won. But especially when I look at a game like the New Jersey game the other night, I'd look at that as like, hey, they maybe got a point they didn't deserve out of that hockey game. Can the Avs be the loser point kings this year? The last couple of seasons, we've looked at a team like a Dallas or a Winnipeg. It's like this team has 13 overtime losses on the season.
I'm just saying the Avs were overtime kings 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They were winning some of them, though. But yeah, sure.
I mean, they had, I think 2 years ago, I think they had 13.
That's so many.
OTLs. Like,
can they do it again then?
That team wasn't very good. So like they had to lose some games, you know, they had to get into overtime for some of those to get a little bit better. All right, I'm actually wrong here. They only lost 7.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad.
They're at 4 now, so that's as many as they had last season.
Yeah.
So OT Kings, here we go. Let's do this.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you were a team that wants to compete for the number 1 seed in a way that the Avs haven't really been all that competitive in the last 2 years when it comes down to it, those extra points start to add up. And you can look at that as those are extra points in the Avs standings, or the Avs are missing out on a point, however you want to look at it. I'm not going to try and change your mind on that, but it's adding up one way or another.
And especially down the stretch, too, when they hopefully kind of overcome some of these woes they're dealing with and learn to start leading games as opposed to equalizing and overcoming deficits. Those points matter. Those points start to mean something a little more.
Yeah, for sure. They all count the same at the end of the season. That's definitely true. AJ, you've got a perplexed look on your face over there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at standings over the last few years, just out of curiosity. That's all.
OT Point Kings, confirmed?
This year? Yeah.
I think ideally you would not like 4 overtime losses in every 10-game stretch. You'd like to win some of those, for sure. Mm-hmm. But
at the end of the day, again, it's 10 games.
Yeah,
and you score a power play goal in a couple of those games, you don't have to worry about getting to overtime.
True. Very true.
If they don't take away the goal in Utah that they shouldn't have taken away, you're up 2-0 in that game, and you really like where you're at.
Yep.
That goal call, that disallowed goal, changed the entire complexion of that game. So, you know, credit to them. You have to really like the fact that they are scraping out points in games where you're like, they were losing in the third period. But also, their entire third period against Boston in Boston was one-sided as you could get in an NHL game, and they should have gotten overtime in that one too.
Yeah.
Stupid Jeremy Swayman.
Not every game's going to break your way, and I think it's important to remember it's a long season. 10 games in means there's 72 left. There's going to be 10-game stretches where the Avs play better. They get 16, 18, maybe 20 points in a 10-game stretch. And there's also going to be stretches of hockey where they probably go actually 5-5 and only get 10. I don't think this is going to be the Avs' best nor their worst stretch of the season. So,
Yep.
Buckle up for some of both coming through.
They're really good.
They are.
I expect some 8-2s.
Yeah,
I really do expect some 8-2s.
Yeah. They're due for it.
And if we do live in a world where this is the Avs' worst stretch of the season, then they're winning the President's Trophy. So
they're going to. They're going to win the President's Trophy. I'm okay with that. This is the 2000-2001 Avs again, dude.
I'm in.
That's all it is.
I am in for that conversation. It is worth noting, too, that the Avs have a bunch of really good players. I know we've been ragging on McKinnon for overtime on that. Yeah, he's top 5 in scoring in the league right now. Like, it's not like he's going out there and laying eggs every night. The Avs top guys are great. Cale Makar's over a point per game.
If that's constituting a McKinnon's washed conversation, I'd love to talk to some of these other fans for other teams.
No kidding.
there are teams in the NHL that don't have a single player at 10 points. So the Avs have 3. Relax. All right. I guess that pretty much does it. Any final thoughts? Anything I missed you guys want to touch on?
Not from me.
I'm good.
Nope. All right, perfect. Then we'll get out of here for this off-day show. We do have a show tomorrow, obviously, pregame, watch-along, postgame, the whole 9 for that. Tune in there. Also, consider becoming a Supporters Club member if you want to support us on YouTube. Maybe the reason McKinnon's bad in overtime is because you guys don't use the Mad Mac emoji enough in the chat, all right? Maybe this is your fault, chat. Could be on you at this point. We are done for today, though. This has been the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.